Yeah, it's another unboxing thingy. Yesterday was the very limited edition white Mew gloves. Today is something a bit easier to get hold of. The delivery guy was really excited for me. He was like, "Is that the new iPhone?"
And now let's talk about iPad mini.
There's a product that I have wished into existence, and it's here today. Cool. So I'm a massive fan of iPads. I use them a lot in the practice that I do with young musicians, young disabled musicians. And I'm a really big fan of the iPad mini. I've always been a big fan of this form factor. I think it's the old-fashioned iPhone. What's this? This is like a 5 or something, right? Okay, so I was never the biggest fan. Was it the 6 where they brought out the curved edges? Once they brought back the flat edges, yeah, I was super happy about that. That's the latest iPad Pro, the M1, right? With the square form factor, I just love it. I just think that's a really great design. I think it's really comfortable to use. I think it looks really stylish. Much prefer it to the rounded things. So I was disappointed when they refreshed the iPad mini and they kept the same form factor and it's still the same thing and it still had Touch ID, and I was like, oh, I want this size device with this form factor, and that will be my take my money device. That's what I want. So when this was announced, I was like, well done, Apple, take my money. So yeah, there it is. I think it's fair to say I've been waiting for this for years. There's a lot of hype about the fact that there's no plastic on the packaging of the new iPhone, but they decided to keep the plastic wrap on the iPad mini, which is interesting. I wonder if there's a charging brick. I bet there isn't. This is the iOS device that I really wanted. I'm absolutely drowning in a sea of iPads right now. I want that modern form factor. I want the full screen. No Touch ID or anything. Well, actually this does have Touch ID. You know what I mean. This is the design I wanted. And now it exists. So here it is. Wow, okay. Cool. It's the usual wrap. It's going to be cute. You know it's going to be cute. Like Marquez Brownlee said, you know, this is not a device for everyone. This is kind of a niche thing. But if you're going to buy one, you probably know what you're going to do with it. And for me, having access to iPad apps like GarageBand in the iPad form factor, things like Thumb Jam, there's loads of apps that I use in my work with young disabled musicians that I want all the time. And the iPad Pro, as much as I love it, it is overkill sometimes. And sometimes I just want something little to chuck in my bag. But that form factor is just a little too dated for me. Wow. There it is. This is the Starlight, is it they call it? That's not going to read very well because you've got so many lights here. Look, if I do that, it looks a bit purple, but I could get it to look a bit green. It is a sort of champagne-y silver. That's what I'm going to call it. It's like, it's silver, but if you catch it in the light, there's a little bit of gold to it. I went for the 256. I'm planning on hanging on to this because I can't imagine this is going to get refreshed again anytime soon. How good's that? That just fits in my hand so well. Yeah, it does feel really good. Right, the Touch ID situation is up here. I was an early adopter of the switch, somewhat reluctantly, to the MacBook Pro format with the all Thunderbolt / USB-C. And between that and my iPad Pro, when I'm in here in the studio, I'm set up for USB-C. So the fact that it's USB-C is pretty cool. Got a camera bump. That's a bit weird. We don't need that, do we? Why do iPads have cameras? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like, what's the point of it? I would never take a photo with an iPad. It's just like, what are you doing, mate? Probably my main reason for getting this is that I love taking notes on the iPad. I find handwriting is weirdly more accessible to me than typing. And I have the pencil, and I have that's the second generation pencil, and I have the iPad Pro. Sometimes the iPad Pro is just too big for the settings that I'm in. I might just, this form factor, just to scribble some notes, is great, but this pencil is not compatible with this iPad. the idea of having an iPad this small that actually works with my second generation pencil. Boom. That is tidy, innit? That is very tidy. I'm guessing this is USB-C and not like Thunderbolt, so I'm assuming it probably won't be like, I can't hook it up to my studio. Like, I can plug my iPad Pro into my dock and run it with the monitors and audio and stuff, and it all seems to work quite happily. I'm going to go ahead and assume that that wouldn't work on here, but I'll test it later. Other than that, I expect it's an iPad. It is what it is. We know how iPads work by now, don't we? Oh, let's look in the box. Okay. USB-C cable, but look what we have here. A folding power brick. Oh man, I'm really going to enjoy using this. I really like the aspect ratio of it. It's just that a little bit wider than I expected. I've seen a few tech reviewers talking about the fact that there's a lot of sort of negative space either side, but I actually like that. I think you'd get to a point where your fingers are going to get in the way of what you're trying to do on it. So that's about it. That's the iPad mini. It's going to be really nice to use. It's really going to, like, yeah, this is so obviously not a device for everyone, but it's just a device that works so well for me. I wouldn't give it to my kids, for example. I think just the regular standard iPad is the right device for most people. For a start, the regular iPad is cheaper. This is relatively expensive for what it is, I think. But damn, that form factor is just so nice. I just never known it fit in my hand quite so well. It's really something. I'd have gone for some louder colours as well, but I'm not a big fan of all these pastels and things. But anyway, that's it really. That's the iPad mini. It's nice. I'm obviously going to really like it. Look at that, it's so little. Anyway, there you go, there's the iPad mini. That's it. That's what it looks like. It's an iPad, but it's mini. But it looks like the iPad Pro. What more could you want? There it is. Thank you for watching. Thanks.